Hey, Ephraim, have you heard the latest about Rue?
What, that he went feral?
Apparently he's gone evil, and people were hired to fight him. So this is going to be interesting to see how this goes.
Oh, that's what all the posters is about. I saw the wanted posters with Rue's face on them.
Where?
I think the kobolds were handing them out.
The kobolds are in on it?
Oh yeah, apparently there's a group of kobold adventurers set out to defeat Rue. I don't know where this story is going anymore. Who are we bringing in today?
Let's see if we can find out. Maybe there's someone that might be able to give a little bit of light on all of this. All right, let's see. This guy looks interesting. And here we go.
No, Ma, just 5 more minutes, please. Please, Ma.
I'm fairly certain I'm not your mother.
Am I?
Oh, boy. More dragons. Wonderful.
Hey, from you and mommy.
Oh, boy. This ought to be fun. Hello there.
Hi.
Oh, hello.
Where am I?
You're in the realm of forgotten memories and dreams.
Forgotten? I wouldn't say that. Pretty sure a lot of people remember me.
Well, at least your conscience is currently here.
We're doing another one of those. All right. I can dig it.
We are the Delegation of Dreamers, and we try to bring people in to ask them about some interesting parts about their past.
Ah, all right. I love talking about me. Sure. Shoot then.
First off, what do you mean by another one of those?
Oh, goodness. Do you want the easy answer or do you want the long answer?
First off, let's do introductions. My name is Ephraim.
I'm Ashura.
Nice to meet you, Ephraim, Ashura. Ashura. All right. My name is Tyrone Wibbleson. You may call me Twibbles, if you prefer.
Twibbles. That's a funny name.
Like you made it myself. All right. What were you saying? You were saying another one of those. Well, again, do you want the long story or do you want the easy answer?
Well, considering we're here to hear about you, why not the long?
All right. Well, you see, when I first came into being, you understand that I'm just better than most people. So, I'm just cool like that.
You are built different.
Built different. I love that saying. That's a good saying. I like that. I say me and my ma. You would know him as Malakath. Maybe you don't. I don't know. You might not have him around here. But basically, we decided that one place wasn't really enough for me like this. I was destined for more than that. So when I eventually got bored with my original debut into the world, I decided to traverse to other dimensions, is what I believe they are called. And these dimensions, these different places, they all have different things going on in them. They also have different rules, different stories, and it's just fun to be able to just find new things to do. And I assumed at first that this was one of those things, but this seems more like an interview, more like a calling, like a summoning, which, that's cool too.
I mean, it could be both.
Could be both. Could be a whole new story.
Yeah. So, Malakath, isn't that some god?
Some god's a good term, yeah. In a realm, what's the place called? It's called like Tamriel or something like that, or probably you'd recognize the place called Skyrim. I don't know. It's he's like a god of orcs. That's what I am, an orc, big green man. Most often I'm an orc. Sometimes I'm not an orc. It's really weird like that. You ever had that moment where you just wake up and you're not quite what you were before? That's what happens to me a lot. It's weird.
I've never woken up to be an orc, but I've always woken up to be green.
You know what? They're usually the same. Green's a good color.
It is.
Amen. In fact, it is easy being green. Don't listen to what they tell you.
Trust me, Ephraim always finds the easy way.
That's the best way. Well, not always, but most of the time, the easy way is the best way.
How did you discover this ability of being transported from one realm to another?
I don't know if I discovered it so much as it just happens. It's like a strange, deranged god is just having his way with me, He's just throwing me into different places to see what happens. And you know what? I'm always obliged to be still alive,
Does it make it hard for you to settle down in the world?
Yeah, I suppose so. You never really get a chance to just, sit down and smell the roses, But again, I'm kind of what do they call it? Kind of a nomad type of wanderer. I've always been used to keeping on the move and not really settling down, but, maybe one day with the right lady.
And your mother is a god, you said?
I call him Ma. I don't really know if he has a gender. I didn't ever really ask. But And I don't really know if I'm so much their kid, so much as he found me when I was a baby or a young Twibbles. And he's basically just kind of like guided me. He's not really, he's kind of have a hands-off approach, you know? Been like, don't eat that sword, and, you know, there's that standard things you do for a child when they're small and dumb. And then when they get bigger and dumber, you just kind of like let them go and spread their wings and that kind of stuff, you know?
Do you normally try to eat swords?
Not anymore.
All right, good to know. You learned the lesson.
I did. It was a very painful lesson, but a good lesson. Sometimes you need to teach your kids not to eat swords. Sometimes the hard way.
And so what was the last realm that were you last in Tamriel, Skyrim, or?
I believe I was just most recently asleep. Apologies, although memories kind of run together sometimes. The most recent one was in a world that has been blown up by atomic bombs. You ever heard of those? Like bombs that are like really, 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 really good at causing death. And they like, it was a fun fancy word. They irradiate everything around them. That might not be the right word.
Sorry, what's an atom?
That's a good question, honestly. I don't know, but atomized is like they gets destroyed so completely. Like when you hit something really hard with your axe and they just go splattering everywhere. That's not even enough. Atomized means they don't even get that. They're just like gone. So like hit by a disintegrate spell, I guess.
So an atom bomb would be like a disintegration bomb.
Something like that. I don't know. The science is weird. I never really was into science. So this place got hit by these big old bombs, and it was so awful that, like, not only did everything die, but some things died so badly that they, like, turned into other things. So, like, there was these really big fuck-off lizards called death claws. They're basically dragons.
Oh.
If dragons had big fuck-off claws, couldn't fly, and just wanted to eat you.
Well, I mean, I got 2 of those 3 criterias.
You know, fair enough. But I don't know. I guess this world didn't really have dragons before then. They weren't real. So it was weird. So we had the death claws. The desert was called the Mojave. It's a big old desert in the middle of nowhere. And so it was a desert first, and then it got hit by the bombs. And it was even worse desert than it already was. Imagine a desert, but imagine it like 10 times shittier. That was the Mojave.
Why?
It's pretty awful.
Why did it bomb the desert?
I think they just bombed the whole world, and like everything got fucked up because of it. So we had that collateral damage, so everything got fucked up. And that was like way before I even woke up in this world. So I woke up after all that happened and became like a mailman. You know what a mailman is?
Yeah.
You got mailmen. Yeah, okay. There's got people like, so in this shitty ass wasteland of a world that's really just awful and bad, you need people to deliver the mail. And since you don't really have the internet no more, or whatever they used to use back then, or like they don't got spells. Well, they don't got really good spells. Spells are expensive, you know. So they had people to actually deliver the mail, and we call them couriers. Basically, they were adventurers because, you know, they were people that ran out into the middle of nowhere to do shit for money and didn't really care if there were bad evil things that tried to eat them. So I was one of those, and I had my buddies that I met through the courier service, and we were on a vengeance quest. That's what it was. We were on a vengeance quest after some asshole in a checkered suit. What was his name? Bingo, Bongo, Benjamin, Benjamin. Yeah, there it was.
Bingo, Bongo, Benjamin.
Just Benjamin, just Benny.
But you're saying that you had a fallout with him.
Fallout, that's a good word. I like that. Fallout in New Vegas.
Okay.
That was the name of the city that everyone was paying attention to. That was the only good thing in the entire desert was the big place called New Vegas. Fallout in New Vegas. That's a good word. Someone should make a book out of that.
Yeah. But what caused this fallout?
So it's hard to remember. I woke up kind of like after this part happened, and I kind of remembered a little bit of my previous bits, but I kind of just woke up at the start of this. You know, in media res is that fun, cool word that we like to use in the fancy pants society. Anyway, I woke up after waking up at a doctor from a head wound from being shot. And Benny apparently shot me. It took us a bit to figure out why he shot us. Apparently he wanted some sort of like magic MacGuffin that we had. Some sort of like magical chip of some sort. Maybe he had nachos that day and he wanted, I don't know.
I really like those magical McMuffins.
Oh man, I haven't had a McMuffin in forever. You think they still sell those?
We have forgotten McMuffins.
Ooh, you got some on the side over here?
Those are really dry.
They are, sadly.
Can we get some fresh McMuffins?
We'll have to find out sometime. I don't think we have currently.
We're going to put some on order then. Good talk. Where was he? We get a sip of drink.
All right, so this is Benny Bongo Benny wanted your McMuffin.
Bingo Bongo wanted our McMuffin, and he shot us in the head for it. Probably took it. Fairly certain he took it. So we got resurrected by the doctor. I don't know if we were fully dead or if we were just kind of dead. And this doctor, I don't remember his name.
Well, you have to be fully dead to be resurrected. So
yeah, we're gonna say that we were not fully dead. We were only halfway dead, probably from the bullet hole in our heads collectively. So we decided we're gonna go on a vengeance quest after Bingo Benji, and we decided that the best way to do that was to run across the desert. Now I don't know if you've ever been in a desert before. It fucking sucks. So luckily we weren't complete idiots, and we had our magical cleric actually make water for us every so often.
Oh,
It's very useful in the middle of a desert. God, Vengeance Quest was so long. We went all over that damn desert trying to find that man. It's like finding a little haystack or a rock in a desert. Both of those really hard.
was he hiding?
Kind of. So we eventually caught up with this trail. We went like all across. We went down to this place called Prim. It was haunted by like oozes or something like that. I don't really know. We just kind of like ran through there. There was, what was that other place called? Novak, where there was a Tyrannosaurus Rex as a mayor. I still don't know why he was mayor. I guess they voted for him. I think from around there, we found some guy who knew where he went, and then he pointed us towards New Vegas because, you know, everything's in New Vegas. I don't know why we didn't just go there in the first place. We were like, no, we got to follow the trail. We should have just gone straight to the big-ass city in the middle of the desert. You know, kind of where most people will go.
Game was rigged from the start.
Yeah, directions are hard.
That's why you need one of those compass things that shows you where the quest is going.
Oh, no, usually they just point you to spawn, don't they?
No, you have those that like give you a big black arrowhead that just points you towards the right direction. They're really handy.
Oh yeah, they're just kind of like right above your head. Yeah, obviously those are really useful, especially if you can just like kind of like go to a door and it'll just like pop on the other side of it, and then boom, you know that you just go through this door and it's good.
Yeah,
those are really useful. I need to be one of those. Say only will show up every so often though. And that really is just an absolute travesty. Where was I?
you're making your way through the desert.
Making our way through the desert. Found the guy. He pointed us towards New Vegas. Going to New Vegas. Still in the middle of the desert. At this point, we have absolutely just slaughtered our way through at least 15 different random encounters, and maybe even a few non-random encounters. I don't know. Table seemed a little weird. We get to New Vegas, and there's like a outside of New Vegas, and there's like the New Vegas Strip. It's a really big fancy word for this is where all the gambling is and the rich people are. So there's the outside of that where anyone can go in, and you can just go in and talk to people. And there's a whole bunch of, it's like basically a city. It's kind of shitty looking because it's made out of like old iron and half blown up buildings, but you know, say lovey. And then there's the Strip, which you need like 1,000 gold on your person just to get in there. And we were like, shit, we ain't got 1,000 gold. We're poor as hell. 1,000 gold is a lot of gold. So we had to figure out how to get really rich really quick, or how to sneak into the most fortified place inside this entire wasteland. And that was a lot. So this man was inside basically Fort Knox. We did a little bit of both, because we ended up figuring out that the army had a way in that was like on the opposite side. And we had already done a few favors for the army. Just like I say, the army, like y'all, like it's not just a generic ass word. Basically, the people who were trying to pretend to be the military occupying force of this place, but they were really getting fucked up by these crazy cosplayers that were coming over the river.
Mm-hmm. Cosplayers.
So it was really silly that these guys were just getting all sorts of fights all the time. But the military guys had hired us a couple times to kill some people, and we did so, and we got paid for it. And they told us that if we did this other thing, we were able to negotiate a way into the Strip that we did not need to have a lot of fucking money to get in there. And I'm pretty sure it involved us kidnapping some motherfucker out of a heavily occupied camp, bringing him back, and then interrogating him. In order to interrogate him, we just had our paladin ask him the stupidest fucking questions over and over and over again, and eventually he just wanted us to stop bothering him. We actually annoyed him into a confession. It was great.
Ashura does that to me sometimes. And I keep telling you I haven't eaten the cookies.
I got you on camera. I know it was you.
I've never been caught. I don't know what you're talking about.
I'll set up the net if I have to.
I don't know. He looks a little big for a net.
Oh, I've got bigger nets.
Oh.
So, what is a cosplayer and why are they hostile towards the army?
So, you know what a LARP is?
Live action roleplay.
Hey, there you go. He's got it. So, imagine a bunch of people, after the world's been blown to hell, find a book and they start reading up about this guy from like 1,000 years ago who had a really cool aesthetic and they knew how to use spears really good. They were like the king of war back 1,000 years ago before guns existed.
They're doing a reenactment.
Basically, they're doing a reenactment in a world where there are now guns and the world's been blown up. And these guys take it way seriously and start dressing up as these guys from 1,000-something years ago to the point where they look like absolute fucking idiots in the middle of the desert and running around with spears and shit and like enslaving people because that's what the guy used to do. And it's really kind of like cringe.
Huh.
But they apparently were really good at killing the people with guns. So clearly they're doing something right. And I don't know if it's just because the guy with guns are idiots or not. So cosplay is kind of like they're dressing up as these guys from the history.
Our kobolds do a pretty good reenactment of certain historical scenes, like the time I burnt down an orphanage.
I didn't even bring it up this time.
They have such a nice little AFRIM suit that one of them puts on.
They have his maniacal laughter down pat.
Do they get like multiple guys, or they just have one big Ephraim guy? Do they trade out the parts?
It's 3 kobolds in a trench coat.
See, now that'd be some entertainment right there. Do they have little like tiny kobolds playing the orphans too?
Oh yeah.
Oh man, that sounds like a fun time.
It's also a bit disturbing at times because Ephraim will chuckle along, especially when the fire starts.
I mean, it's a comedy.
I fear for what you mean by comedy.
I mean, they say that tragedy and comedy overlap very often.
Mm-hmm. True.
I think what you mean by is tragedy plus time.
Ah, there it is. This man's smart. I like him. In any case.
What happened to the guy that you were supposed to kidnap and torture?
Right. He was just some like nobody, or no, I think he was a cosplayer.
Ah.
He was on that team. Or maybe he was a traitor. He was a traitor to some side. The details got really hazy in the middle of all of our goofing off and asking him about whether or not he had the hots for the girl who was interrogating him before now. It was very uncomfortable for everybody involved, except for the paladin, who was having an absolute blast, I think. In any case, we eventually got him to confess something, and then the army was like, yeah, sure, you did a favor, so we'll do you a favor. Get into the strip, no charge, because we have that power for some reason. I don't know, some sort of inside deal. We get inside the strip, and trying to figure out where the fuck Benny is. Because there's a bunch of different casinos, as they were called. A bunch of different casinos, all their different blackjacks and hookers. He's supposedly in one of them, but when we go in there, he is nowhere to be found. We can't even see him. And it's hard to tell if they know who we are. They didn't act like they knew who we are, but there's no way to find Benny. So either he's not here, or he's hiding. And we decided, well, we're not. If we get caught trying to fight at all in here, there's going to be a whole mess of bullshit on top of us in moments because they have these really cool big murder robots that were like acting as guardsmen. So that's pretty cool. So we had to figure out how to find him. So we went to all the other casinos. We kind of split up a little bit. Always split the party. That's a very smart move. We went all searching our own different directions. If I recall, I got into a fight pit with a hot-ass Oni girl. I'm pretty sure that I didn't find anything important, but I did find that hot-ass Oni girl, and that was really cool.
Sometimes that's all that you need.
Honestly, you ain't wrong. Point of the matter is, we eventually realized that apparently Benny just goes out into the desert every so often and then doesn't come back for weeks on end, so we had no fucking idea where the hell he was or could be. But we had some thoughts. But the biggest thing we had in mind was that after we leave to try and find other things, we would not be able to get back in without a lot of money. So we decided to get a bunch of money from this, like a job offer, basically. And we got really off track. We were like gone for like a month, I think.
Oh.
But we came back with a shit ton of salt.
What?
Now you might be questioning.
Yeah, what was the job about?
The job! Yeah, so we were like supposed to like protect a caravan from a bunch of provincials or something like that. That's what the word they used. I don't like that word very well.
Huh.
So they just needed to be protected, and we were obviously hired muscle. We're good at killing things and preventing things from being dead that are precious to us, I guess. I don't know. So we protected the caravan up until the point where the caravan blew up. This isn't a joke. We got all the way like to just below our destination, and we realized, oh shit, that's a big old fire out there. What we should go see what's going on about it. I don't even know if it was landmines or if it was just a shit ton of like well-placed magic or nonsense. And basically the whole caravan got wiped out. We just barely survived this raid by these really salty motherfuckers. They were like covered in like
Salt?
war paint, but it was salt.
Oh.
Like these men were wearing it. They say back in the desert, they didn't have salt for nothing. All the food tasted terrible because we couldn't salt any of it. These guys out here wearing it?
Oh, they're pre-seasoned.
See, you know what? Fair enough. Unfortunately, I do not like people taste very well. So I didn't have that luxury of being able to eat the seasoned folk. But that's beside the point. Apparently there was like a whole gang war going on up there. There was a whole big bunch of nonsense. There was a religious guy who had a really cool gun, and he had like a aura about him of he was fucking batshit insane, but also really fucking powerful. So like, he was really cool. And eventually we got to watch him 1v1 the fucking big evil tribe man who was like fucking everything up there. And then he was just fucking stripped naked and left all this stuff for us. Like, hey, I'm done with things. I'm going to go pass on into the next life or something like that. And I was like, that's badass as hell.
What, he ran away naked?
I mean, he had his underwear on. He had his tidy whities on. Okay. Just in the middle of the desert. Or not even the desert. It was like way green up here, by the way. It wasn't a desert at all. I almost wanted to stay out there. It was so cool, so pretty. But it was water. Imagine that. It was water in this place. When you spend like a month in the desert, you take the little things, apparently. Got a little sidetracked. Came back with salt. Got a bunch of money for the salt. We brought all our money back to the base that we found underneath that where the doctor picked us up. There was like a courier base, apparently underneath the city, which is cool as hell. Brought all our stuff back, and that's where I went to sleep, and now I'm here.
Okay.
So I'm wondering if I'm going to get back to my job, or if I'm just stuck here now. But we'll find out soon, I guess.
Just for clarification, like a blackjack, is that some sort of fisherman?
A blackjack. So it's a game you play with cards, and the point is for some guy to hand you a card, and you count the number on that, and you're trying to get to 21. So it's like a math game, but it's also not a math game. Or at least that's what Vandal said. That was the paladin I was talking about. He was like counting cards or something like that. I don't know. I was just being like, if I have like a 17 or higher, I'm probably going to win. And there's not a lot of cards that add up to 21 at that point. So might as well stop there. It was a really weird game.
What does the hooks have to do with it? Yeah, you said blackjack and hooks.
Oh, and the hookers. You want a hooker? You don't know what a hooker is.
He doesn't need to know.
Are you sure? He wants to know, though.
He doesn't need to know.
He doesn't need to know.
I don't need him bringing anything back.
You know what? That's fair. They say, we'll tell you when you're older then.
We'll tell you when you're old.
Is that how you pull out the cards? You put them on a hook?
Yes, that's for the pull out of the hooks.
Yes, with hook.
Yeah, you hook them. Gotta hook them out.
I'm feeling deceived, but let's go on.
No, I assure you, it's definitely no deception here, I promise.
No, he's a Shura.
Yes.
Anyway.
I'm sure that's a joke's ever been done. All right. Anyway.
Through all of your journeys, what has been one of the more fun quests you've been on?
West. Oh, boy. Y'all ought to appreciate this. What with the orphans jokes and whatnot. That's a bad way to start a story. Anyway. Are you familiar with bounty hunting?
Let's say I am.
Let's say we are. So while we were going through the desert, there was this guy we came across who was like holding down a jail, basically. A bunch of people just got out. Maybe a bunch of people were dead. Hard to really say. But he was basically a bounty hunter. And he had a big old list of people that he were supposed to kill or bring back, let's say captured, or some other third thing. And he was just one guy, and he was like, you guys look capable. Here, if you need money, bring these guys back to me, and I'll pay you for them. Probably less money that he'd be getting for them as well. And honestly, most of them were wanted dead, so that helped us out pretty well. And on the list was a handful of people that none of us knew shit about, and a couple of them that at least had like locations. And while we were traipsing through the desert, there was a spot off the road. We were like, oh shit, this is where one of the groups is. And I'm going to read off this list right here. It says, Hillbilly Cannibal Halflings.
Hillbilly cannibal halflings.
Oh,
I don't know if that intrigues you as much as it intrigues me.
Billy Cannibal Halflings.
They were like off in the mountains, you know, where hillbillies are, off in the hills. But we got off the road because it was, you know, destroyed road, and these were in the middle of this kind of mountainous area in the desert. So it was double awful. And these motherfuckers apparently were like a gang, a big ass family gang. And they were just causing a whole bunch of trouble and eating people, you know, cannibal part. So we find them in these caves, and there's just a shit ton of them. It's like having to exterminate a rat nest. Like, you have to go into the nest and kill them all. It's crazy. And these motherfuckers are just like, you know, they see something moving and they shoot at it. There's no negotiating with these guys. You just walk in there and you just have to kill them all. And they're like, half of them are like stocked to the brim with like shotguns and dynamite. So like, they shoot the shotgun, they fly 10 feet backwards. Like, it's a whole mess. We managed to get through it all, and a lot of that was our boy Minolin. That's the cleric of the three of us. He was also a halfling. We had a whole moment where we were like, these are cousins, right? And he was saying no the whole time, and we just kept bugging him about it, and he probably hated us a little bit. But you know what? It was funny, and sometimes that's worth it.
That's all that matters in the end.
Honestly. So we're killing all these hillbilly cannibal halflings, and we're murdering all these guys, and they're trying their best to murder us, but we're better than them because, you know, we're taller. We finally get through all of them, and the final place goes quiet. Kind of. Mostly quiet. There's still like echoes and tinnitus in my ears probably, but you know, you shoot shotguns in close quarters, it's going to happen. And we finally are able to just like clean up their place and take the loot and get the gold, get the gun, get the ammo, and get out of there. And apparently during this whole shit, we found a little box, and inside are 3 little hillbilly halfling toddler cannibals, and just absolutely awful little shitheads. Like, reach in to grab one of them and they bite my finger almost off the bone, like straight up. It's my finger too, so it's like bigger than their head. But they just crying, they're loud, and let me be frank, we're not the best people. We're traveling adventurers, and we're good at murdering people and not much else. So I wouldn't consider us, parenting kind of folk, or the kind of folk that would have children. Mm-hmm. But, Mendelin over here is a do no harm kind of doctor. He's been sitting here keeping us patched up the whole time. And he's like, no, we can't kill the babies. And we said, we really could just kill the babies. And he said, no, we can't kill the babies. And then we said, we could just leave them here. And he said, no, we can't leave them here. And honestly, you can't really argue with the doctor, or else you're going to die. So I had a long argument about it. Eventually, we decided to swaddle the shit out of them, like wrap them full up. They probably got numb limbs, and try to keep them away from anything that they could bite. Kind of like strapped them to the front of ourselves, and we decided to waltz off towards the nearest civilization. So we ended up handing these cannibal halfling hillbilly children to some poor lady in Novak. I think I mentioned Novak before, with the T-Rex mayor. And I don't know how we did it. I want to say that she took pity on us. I don't know, maybe Vandal winked at her nice. I don't know. It was really just an awful time. But apparently she was just like, whatever we're doing, we're at least taking the babies and not having you deal with them. So we foisted those children off on someone else, and God help us for what we unleashed upon the world that day.
Well,
those poor things.
That's a happy ending as far as you know.
As far as I know, exactly. See, as far as I know, nothing bad came of those children being spared and allowed to live in a loving home. Probably a good thing. They definitely didn't have the taste for blood. I promise.
For some reason, I doubt that, but I'll believe you this time.
It might have been multiple bite wounds on my fingers and ears.
I thought you were missing a lobe.
Oh shit, does that not grow back in?
Not yet.
Ah, fuck. Well, it looks like character. And I promise I got it off of a wolf, not a toddler.
Yeah, that's a good story to tell.
Exactly. But yeah, that was the halfling hillbilly cannibals. And I'm surprised that they just are so burned into my memory as they are, because there's been some wild shit happening in this desert. But that's the one that just like always comes back to my brain. Because it's just a fun word to say, just hillbilly cannibal halflings.
They're saying that 3 times fast.
Do you worship any religions, or do you follow any faith in particular?
Religion. Ooh, that's a tough one. In my various experiences in life, I can understand where y'all are coming from. And there's some places where, like, gods are real and you just have to deal with that. You know, like Malakath. He's not really a god, though, right? He's just a really powerful creature from another world. So, like, is he really a god? That's a really, really hard question, especially when you've been in places that have different rules.
And is he really your mom?
Well, or if you count adoption, right?
Then he could be your mom.
He could be my mom. And honestly, I think that's all that really matters, even if he's probably mad at me for saying that.
Everyone needs to know where they're from.
Exactly. Sometimes you just got to roll with it and keep going. Always look forward. That kind of stuff. You know what? I got a good answer for that. I don't have a religion. I have a rule set.
All right.
As you said, part of faith is what? Guidelines? Kind of like that? I have guidelines.
What are your guidelines?
Yeah, what are these guidelines?
Guidelines. All right. Let's start from the top. Number 1, strength above all. You have to have strength yourself in order to do really anything. And it's not just like, as much as I like prescribe the physical strength, I mean, look at these muscles. Strength is really anything that you really need. Mental strength, emotional strength, anything that you need to be better than what you were. So put in strength for yourself first is important, because you need that to do anything else. If you are not capable in yourself, you can't really do much else. You got to have that baseline. You have to think of yourself first in order to put others next. And it might sound selfish, but there's a problem that some people have. They don't look after themselves when they're trying to give to others. You got to have something first. You got to have a baseline in order to give to others.
Yeah.
You have to be strong to lift others up.
And what saying is better to have at the top of the list than strength above all?
Indeed. Number 1 at the top. It's a very self-fulfilling list. Number 2, make functional look good. Now, this is more esoteric. You get a lot of people that say, I want the best armor, I want the best clothing, and it doesn't matter what it looks like, I just want it to be the best. And there's a lot of people apply it to armor a lot, but it doesn't really have to be just armor, but you know. Or, I want to look as good as possible, and I don't care what it does for me. Fuck that. You don't have to have one or the other. Do both as best as possible. You want to have function look good. You want to look your best and also still have what you need to make everything work. And it's not just what you're carrying. It's not just what you're wearing. Sometimes you need an axe that actually cuts good and is also a cool as hell looking axe. If you have a sword that's also a gun, you need to make sure that it isn't just there to look like a cool sword gun. You need to actually be able to shoot and cut. Like, let's be real here. You gotta make functional look good. You can't sacrifice things.
Isn't that the opposite, though? That you have to make something that looks good functional?
It really depends on what you're working with, right? You have to have a little bit of an acceptable amount of function and an acceptable amount of aesthetic.
Okay.
You have to be able to balance the two.
Mm-hmm.
And it takes real mastery to be able to get to that point.
I'd normally start with the function first, then go for the cosmetics.
See, that's a good way to look at it. You got to start somewhere and aim for both. But the point of the matter is, even if you have the best stuff, all the best gear, all the best things, if it looks like shit, people are going to make fun of you. Let's be real.
Mm.
Let's say y'all all seen that video. This is my ass kicking outfit, bitch.
I've seen that one.
It's a good video. It's a good man. It's a funny man. I recognize him.
Love that guy.
In any case, it's important to have a balance. Let's say, because if it's just aesthetic, it ain't going to protect you if someone's going to stab you. Let's be real. You're going to need a little bit of both.
Yeah.
All right. Number 3, follow through. Some people like to call this one double tap. because, guns and such. But follow through is more universal, in my opinion. And also, if it was double tap, I'd put it at number 2, and that'd be funnier. But, number 3, follow through. So the whole point is very simple. Keep going. Don't just give it a swing and then give up. Don't just hit it once and say, no, it's too hard. Follow through. Keep going. Make it look like you're trying.
But what if it's hard, so you go to bed, and then you try again in the morning?
That's still following through.
All right, good.
And that kind of leads into number 4, but we'll get into that second. The point of follow through is that you have to dedicate yourself to what you are doing.
All right.
It builds into everything, let's say, what we already considered.
That comes close to one of my rules of life, that as long as it gets done sometime.
Yes. Follow through is a little bit more, there's a more immediate concept to it.
I get you.
In my opinion. But as long as you continue with the stroke, no matter how long it takes, the stroke does fall, right?
Not everyone has our lifespan, Ephraim.
Yeah, I guess.
This is true. And so follow through becomes a lot more important for those with shorter lifespans, I suppose. Those are a more immediate need.
I guess you would have to be in a hurry.
But that brings us to number 4. Everything has a health bar. Now, this one might be a little above your head, but we're going to go to step by step.
No, we've been at a bar before.
Yeah, that.
We know what it is.
Imagine a bad guy in front of you, and every time you punch him, he loses a bit of himself. And eventually, you punch him so much that he falls over and he's dead. His health bar is gone. Everything has a health bar. No matter what you're doing, no matter what you're dedicating yourself to, from follow through, we come back to, if you keep at it, eventually it will get done. If you dedicate yourself to something, you will get better day by day by day by day by day. And say you follow through to the point where you continue to improve yourself or knock away at this foundation that is in your way. And eventually it will crumble and you will have succeeded. It's more of a rule that I've found out in my lifetime than something that I have come up with myself.
If it bleeds, you can kill it.
If you bleed, you can kill it. That's a good one.
I would say you can always rebuild the bar.
But then it has a health bar again. And once again, it's something you can kill.
You fill it up with alcohol.
You could fill up that bar with alcohol. Sometimes you have that second bar, and that bar is for alcohol. It's very important.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's basically, if you are continuing to work at something, it will eventually get done. Once again, continuing off of that same thought process, number 5, there are no limits. Anything is possible if you are able to put your mind to it, work at its health bar, follow through, and you have the strength to do so.
But doesn't the bar have a limit?
Maybe in your mind. But if you put your mind to it, make a bigger bar.
You said that everything crumbles in the end, so doesn't that mean that it has a limit then?
If you're here to break it.
Yeah.
But if you're here to build it up, then maybe there are no limits. Some things you have to break down, and some things you have to build up.
And also your lifespan is limited, isn't it?
Some people's are. I have not found a limit to my lifespan yet.
Depends on what you define by living.
Also true. So far, I have not found my limit.
Well, maybe you'll find it when your health bar collapses.
Maybe I will.
Let's hope that doesn't happen anytime soon.
Yeah, I meant that metaphorically, not as a threat. I didn't mean to threaten you.
I don't know. Threats are, it gives me a reason to live, All
right.
If we got to sling it out in the backyard, we got to sling it out in the backyard. That's how we do.
I wouldn't want to follow through.
Fair enough.
What's your war cry if you had to sling it out in the backyard?
Oh, shit. Whenever I was swinging my axe, I would always say, yeah. And then I would swing my axe again, I would say, yeah. And then the guy would be dead, and I would say, oh.
Why not use one of your life rules as a war cry?
See, some of them don't really roll off the tongue.
Functional before practical!
I don't know about that.
All right.
I guess at the very end of the day, there are no limits.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah, and strength above all.
If I was at a fighting game, that'd be the one that I'd do for my super.
And everything has a health bar. That's also good.
It is, especially in a fighting game.
Maybe you can try one of those war cries when you get back home.
Good follow through.
Follow through? Yeah. We'll do that when we get home. But for now, I don't know. If you got one of those McMuffins still.
I mean, if you want to steal one, you can have.
Absolutely. I'll bring one for Midland, too.
All right, sounds good.
Not for Vandal, though. He doesn't deserve one.
And we'd love to have you back again, maybe sometime when you have a bit more adventures.
Oh, absolutely.
All right, and until then, have a good awakening.